Kita ajar dia macam mana nak buat stand up, dia punya proses dia. Lepas tu letak dia atas pentas stand up, pandai-pandai kau buat stand up 5 minit.
Your business model is so unique in terms of assets and all that. I think you're very different from any other kind of business.
But that's where the comedy comes from, that uncomfortableness. You
Right.
see, that from that uncomfortableness comes comedy and laughter. I hope the funds flow out properly to the right people so that we can have the best events that can pull people from outside Malaysia into Malaysia. Their passion and desire to export our local talent as an export of culture. Help us do that in order for us to be able to share how good Malaysians are. Betul lah. Pejam celik, dah tua.
Assalamualaikum, man. Thank you for being with us once again on We Hear You. Terima kasih kerana kembali bersama kami sekali lagi dalam satu lagi episod yang mana kita akan bawakan tumpuan kepada dunia perniagaan, inspirasi daripada kisah-kisah kejayaan SME tempatan yang sedang mencipta nama di persada industri masing-masing dan juga sedang mengorak langkah untuk mencapai market ataupun pasaran antarabangsa. Jadi untuk topik hari ini agak berbeza sedikit saya dapat bayangkan jika kita bandingkan dengan topik-topik yang sebelumnya kerana kita akan bawakan tumpuan kepada satu industri yang agak unik di Malaysia. Telah pun lama bertapak sebenarnya tetapi melalui berbagai halangan, rintangan dan sebagainya namun kini telah mengasaskan beberapa nama tempatan yang sedang juga mencipta nama di pasaran antarabangsa. Namun individu di sebalik salah sebuah syarikat yang begitu berjaya menghasilkan pelbagai genre hiburan adalah LOL Asia dan kita bersama dengan Rizal Kamal yang juga adalah pengasas dan CEO-nya selain daripada beberapa lagi topi besar yang dipegang, big hats. How are you, Rizal?
I'm good, Terence. Wow, your bahasa is spot on, man.
I'm trying my best.
Respect, R-E-S-P-E-C-T.
R-E-S-T-E-P-C-T.
Man, saya punya bahasa pun tak bagus macam Terence. Memalukan sebenarnya. Tapi okeylah, kita boleh cakap buat podcast ni bahasa Inggeris, bahasa Malaysia. Dua-dua kita campur-campur.
That's the cool thing about this podcast.
we can
Take
do
some
both
liberties here. So Rizal, I must imagine, right, the comedy scene which you're a part of now must be buzzing with content because of the American election, you know. The never-Trumpers are losing it. The Trumpers are celebrating. What's it like for comedy in the last quarter of 2024 in Malaysia?
Last quarter. I mean, you know, when Joe Biden was president, the comedy scene was a little quiet in terms of political commentary about US. During the Trump era, oh my God, non-stop comedy. We are loving it. All the comedians are minting. I would say minting, and especially someone like Trevor Noah.
Oh, yeah.
Minting it with all the different silliness or, you know, the craziness of Trump.
And the impersonations.
And, you know, Trump impersonations, everybody has to do it.
Yes.
And, you know, there are some really good ones out there.
Yeah, I have got to do it. I would like to try, but, you know, I fall short. So, yes, that's about the last quarter and the American election just a little bit. I thought I'd throw it in there because that's the nexus for comedy and how we understand comedy here in Malaysia. But how did you get started with LOL Asia?
When I was studying in Australia, I came across Eddie Murphy, Raw and Delirious. I've never seen stand-up in my entire life. And I saw Eddie Murphy's Raw and Delirious, and it just blew my mind. And those are the days with VCR, right? You put in a tape and you watch stand-up, and this guy, Eddie Murphy, does not have a cap. You know, he says whatever he wants, and, you know, he's so funny, and I just fell in love with stand-up as well. And my girlfriend that time also bought me a Jerry Seinfeld CD.
Oh.
Jerry Seinfeld. And then I was listening stand-up comedy in the car. Instead of music, I was listening to comedy. And that built my first love on stand-up. So when I had the opportunity to do stand-up comedy shows in KL, I took it because I knew that time, there are local comics, Haris Kanda, Joanne Kam, Douglas Lim, and the rest were all just starting out. Kwa Jen Han, Punchi Ho, Kavin J, Andrew Neto, they were just starting out like open micers. So then I had a chance to bring international comics to Malaysia. And we did that. And the scene blew up. People in KL, people in Malaysia has never seen anything like it, like monthly comedy shows with comics from Australia, from UK, from US. And one of the best things that we did was we put 2 international comics together with 2 local comics, so there is a real show and synergy. On stage, people get the local stuff, people get the international stuff.
Who was the first international act you brought in?
The first international act, believe it or not, was a black guy, TJ, Terrence Johnson from the US.
Yeah.
The late John Atherton, the Laugh Guru, from Australia. And our local hero, Andrew Neto.
Nice. That's quite the lineup. I mean, I personally was introduced to comedy in the format of stand-up through Russell Peters.
Yeah.
You gotta admit, that was a classic, right? That whole act that he did. I don't know whether the political correctness thing has died down and he can do stuff like that again, because he kind of stopped doing stuff like that for a while. But I do believe it's going to make a comeback now that Trump's president. Just out there. But we were introduced.
Yeah, I've worked with Russell.
You worked with Russell?
Yeah, twice. 3 times actually.
He sold out in like what? 30 minutes here when he was in KL?
Yeah, the first time we did Russell, this is one of my milestone, or what I say, one of the biggest success I had early in the building the industry or the company. In 2012, we had a chance to bring Russell down. We managed to do enough things in Malaysia to be put on the radar where when Russell's team wanted to tour Southeast Asia, the people to work with was us.
Wow.
And we booked Russell for 2 shows, and we sold 16,000 tickets in a total of 2 hours. That's like,
That's
wow.
amazing.
2 nights. 2 nights, 16,000 tickets sold. People went crazy. At that time, Russell was the biggest comic in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. 2012. And we repeated the feat in 2015. When Russell came back, we did another 16,000 tickets. Same venue, 2 shows. We made history. I guess.
Nice. I do believe you're going to keep doing big business like that in the years to come. But it can't be denied that starting a business like this has got to be challenging. So talk to us from the business aspect, Rizal, because it's a business podcast. We're getting carried away with the comedy element here, because you can see I'm a fan of comedy. But the business aspect of putting something like this together, what does it take to start up LOL Asia?
Really interesting question, because what we do in the end is part of the creative industry. And with any creative product, it takes a lot to create. The creation process is sometimes a long process. And we need to be able to continuously do things, create, test out talents, test out different talents, work with all different type of talents to find the one or the few that we are able to bring up to commercialize. Yeah, in the business aspects, the creation process is an expense. Yeah, and the creation process is doing all the small shows. We just break even in small shows, but that's when you discover talent. That's when you are able to bring a talent up, and then we pick those key talents, and we commercialize those talents and push them as far as possible.
That is a very unique process, because sepanjang kita bersiaran dalam We Hear You ini, pelbagai jenis tetamu telah kita undang, dan tak ada satu pun proses untuk mencipta nama di dalam industri yang seumpama ini. Jadi untuk bantuan dana, untuk pembiayaan, untuk memulakan syarikat sebegini, di manakah Rizal mendapat dana dan siapakah yang menyokong usaha pembiayaannya?
Kita dapat dana sebenarnya daripada My Creative Ventures. My Creative Ventures menolong kita sejak tahun 2015, beri revolving credit untuk syarikat kami. My bahasa
Sampai revolving credit jam.
Jam betul. Well, essentially they give us a revolving credit, and it allows us to build platforms.
Okay.
To build platforms, and then these platforms enable us to churn out and build the local talents, and that's what we actually love to do. Tuan memang suka to create and build talents from scratch. A lot of companies, I mean, if you think purely on the business aspects, you push to get the biggest talents in the world to come and do shows with them. I mean, that's the best way to commercialize. You fight for the biggest talents, battle for the biggest talents. But for us, we like to do both. We like to build the grassroots, because we started from grassroots. We started from small shows, and kita nampak all these young talents who wants to rise up, and we always want to give them that opportunity to push them up. But that is it's almost like a sacrifice purely in terms of business sense. So we have to do both. We have
testing and you're measuring, right? Whether
testing and measuring, and creating build platform after platform after platform in order for the artist to rise. Versus working to build relationship with international artists and so forth, working the agents, working the managers, and try to get the biggest artists to come to your space to do shows. So these are two very different business models.
It sounds a lot like the Def Jam story, right? On BTV, where they had all these black comics come up and test out the waters, push the boundaries, and some of them, of course, fell off the rails, but a lot of them became huge success stories, like Martin Lawrence. We have Dave Chappelle, of course, and all the greats. They came from that platform, and we have our own platform in LOL Asia. And one of the names that we're talking about is Dr. Jason Leong. I interviewed him when he wrote his book about being a doctor or studying to be a doctor. At that time, he wasn't sure where he was going to go, but he had this direction that he wanted to be funny on stage. And then he took it to greater heights. I mean, I don't think even he imagined himself performing in all these markets like London and Australia and all that. So those are the kind of grassroots talents that you have successfully helped groom and create and put on the map. So when you have a success in a local talent, what does that mean for LOL Asia, really? Now that you've created this local talent, this product, do you own any of the rights to their work, or are you partners in any way with them?
The satisfaction level is different, and when you work with talents that you build, there's a lot of love. There's a lot of passion, and we bring that talent, that passion, that special touch from the artist to people. And we've done that successfully with Kumar. With Kumar from Singapore, this is already our 5th tour with Kumar. And this year we brought Kumar to, I think, 23 cities with nearly 40 plus shows. Wow. After 5 tours, where we first national tour with Kumar in 2016, and we kept building all the way till now. And our philosophy in that is actually very simple. Kumar is the funniest. Kumar is able to touch people in a special way. They touch people's hearts. Kumar has that ability. And we just want to bring that to as many people as possible. It's sort of like Kumar has this healing thing. When Kumar performs on stage, people laugh, and then Kumar gives advice, people heal, and we get a lot of positive feedback, saying all sorts of stuff like "Thank you so much, Kumar, for there was once, right? Someone wanted to commit suicide. This is a long email that we got. Wanted to commit suicide and decided to come to a Kumar show. And after coming out from the Kumar show, decided to live a life. Wow. Yeah, so we get all sorts of things. People who have had abortion.
That's a goosebump.
And then Kumar heals. And, so these kind of things encourage us to do more. And when we have or we find that special talent, we want to spread that love or that passion or that ability of that talent to as many places, to as many people as possible.
And I said it just now, I'm going to say it again. This is a very unique business, a very different industry from anything that we've talked about. And even in entertainment, I think it's unique because you can see there's a lot of genuine love and respect within this industry. In the music industry, it's all about if I sign someone onto my label, how much can I make out of this person, and how long can I tie this person to my deal. But in comedy, I mean, there's a lot of genuine, heartfelt connections built with the talent managers as well as the talent themselves. And so that's what keeps comedy the way it is. Do you see any challenges for this business model that you've established over the course of 15 years already?
15 years.
15 years.
We are celebrating our 15-year anniversary, 15 tahun.
That's right.
In the business.
So this technology now pose a challenge for this 15 years of tradition business that you've been doing?
Oh, no. Technology is a friend. For us, we are already employing a lot of AI tools into the business to enhance the efficiency of working, enhance the efficiency of the shows, of the processes that we have, and also we in our next show, our 15-year anniversary show, we are employing AI on stage.
Oh, boy.
So there is
Really?
merging music and comedy and technology into a show. And to be honest, this 15-year anniversary where we are doing it is a test bed for us to do something a lot bigger in 2025, 2026. Yeah, so we're working towards something huge, and we are testing all these new things, AI technology, incorporating it into the show. I think it's really exciting stuff. So I would say, although comedy or performance art is a very human thing where it's a lot of human connection, but you are able to harness the power of technology, especially with AI now, in order for us to expand our reach, in order for us to improve or increase the level of connection that we can build in a show. Why not?
Well, we're looking forward to talking more about your 15th anniversary celebration in just a short moment. We're going to take a short break. Dan apabila kita kembali, kita akan terus membicarakan industri yang sangat menarik ini, cukup menghiburkan, dan seperti yang anda dapat lihat setakat ini, adalah suatu industri yang lain daripada yang lain. Jangan ke mana-mana, terus setia bersama kami dalam We Hear You. Kembali bersama kami dalam We Hear You, dan kita sedang memberi tumpuan kepada satu industri yang lain daripada yang lain, stand-up comedy. Saya rasa tidak ada perumpamaannya dalam bahasa Melayu. Betul tak, Rizal? Dalam bahasa Melayu, what do you call stand-up comedy?
Komediri.
Komediri?
Komedi berdiri macam tak betul. Komediri terma yang terbaik pada saya, yang paling saya suka lah. Gunakan sebagai the translation for stand-up comedy. Komediri.
Okay, that's nice. So how if before we get into some of the challenges, how is the Malay or bahasa Melayu market for komediri?
Komediri. So kita macam the seniors dalam industri ya. Dato' Aflin Shakir, Hairul Iskandar. Kita dah banyak kali daripada dulu, dah 10 tahun dulu kita bincang macam mana kita nak naikkan bahasa, stand-up comedy dalam bahasa. Masa tu kita fikir audience bahasa Melayu tak akan bayar after an X amount untuk tiket.
Okay.
Dan pun dia tak biasa dengan the art of stand up. Jadi tapi kita cuba. Kita cuba. What I've done before is a show called Empat Abdul. It's based on P. Ramlee, Tiga Abdul. We put 4 comedians together, 4 comedian. Kita buat show berasaskan berinspirasi daripada P. Ramlee. Memang best show. I love this kind of creative shows. And also with Astro, we did a competition called Gelak Gempak.
Gelak gempak ni dia macam kalau yang biasa kita dengar in English is a roast. And dia lawan-lawan lah.
Ada roast element. Ada elemen roast tapi dia campur stand up, improv dan roast dalam satu show. Memang best. Kita laga-lagakan komedian. Memang kelakar, memang best. Kita buat satu season Gelak Gempak. Lepas tu Astro kata tak cukup star power. So kita buat Gelak Gempak Celebrity. Letak Datuk Hatan, Alif Syukri, T. Zakia, buat stand up comedy kali pertama. Kita ajar dia macam mana nak buat stand up, dia punya proses dia. Lepas tu letak dia atas pentas stand up. Pandai-pandai kau buat stand up 5 minit. Memang best, memang kelakar. So in there we are trying, what we're still trying until today is to try to grow the love for stand up for the Bahasa audience or Malay audience or the Bahasa audience in general. I think it's still a process, right. And it needs a lot of love and support in order for this section to grow. Because if you look at Indonesia, the stand-up comedy in Bahasa Indonesia is huge. There are hundreds of stand-up comedian in Bahasa because their TV channels love it, they allow it, and they have competition like same level as Maharaja Lawak, but in stand-up in Indonesia. But we are not able to do that yet in Malaysia. But I still believe that one day we will reach there.
I think it's going to happen sebab bahasa Melayu ni sejak sekian lama sebenarnya ada elemen satira, ada elemen hiburan dalam persembahan klasik seperti Borea di Pulau Pinang pun ada dimasukkan elemen satira dan lawak jenaka tu. Jadi sememangnya bahasa Melayu boleh digunakan untuk elemen hiburan dan jenaka. Dan baru-baru ni bukanlah baru sangat, saya rasa dalam 2-3 bulan sebelum ni ada satu video tular seorang yang agak muda komediri ini yang membuat satu lawak yang cukup viral. I'm just gonna paraphrase one line from it and then you go and find the video yourself, ya. Ada seorang menteri yang besar. That's it. That's all I'm gonna say. When you find the video, you'll know. You'll be laughing. It's like a 2-minute or 3-minute piece, and he is so funny. Anyway, these elements of comedy often push boundaries, and they kind of roll into politics sometimes, roll into other aspects of life. And in the States, we have people that push boundaries like Dave Chappelle, there's Ricky Gervais. They always get into hot water, and people sometimes cannot accept comedy, which is supposed to offend sometimes. It's supposed to be offensive. I mean, when Russell Peters puts on the Indian accent, he's Indian. He doesn't naturally speak that way. And when he puts on a Chinese accent, I mean, he's trying to be funny, but some people might get offended. So where's that line between offending people and being funny?
Actually, stand-up comedy is not supposed to be offensive.
Okay.
But you have to, the level of acceptance is different from audience to audience, right? People who come to a comedy show, they want to hear the jokes. They lower their level of PC, they want to laugh.
Yes.
So for that kind of audience, they can accept nearly everything. Their level of, let's say, like tolerance towards something that shouldn't be said is much higher. But that's where the comedy comes from, that uncomfortableness. You see, that from that uncomfortableness comes comedy and laughter. But the problem is nowadays, because it's a world of social media. In a world of social media, a joke that is meant for an audience in a comedy club goes out to audience that does not have that tolerance level, or they are not the stand-up comedy audience. And when that happens, it can become very offensive because it's just comedy is supposed to be kept in a safe space, right? And if you want to bring it out, it has to be sort of like, there's a caveat, like, if you want to watch this, prepare to be offended or don't watch it.
Right.
But in social media, it goes everywhere to everyone. Hence, you will get people offended with jokes.
I think like you should enjoy it in the moment. Comedy shouldn't come with commentary, and that's what makes the whole thing get blown out of proportion sometimes. The commentary, the panels that are set up to comment on the one joke.
Yeah. Sure.
I imagine there were actual panels set up to just discuss the few jokes that Dave Chappelle made that were quote unquote offensive. I'm not sure which jokes were offensive, but to certain people, he rubbed them the wrong way, and there were panels set up on, CNN or MSNBC to try and degrade those jokes or say he was in a bad light. And all this is, I think, also a performative art in its own right. Setting up panels just to talk about jokes. But we've had some of that here in Malaysia, and we're a slightly different culture from the West. So how do you sensitize comedy for Malaysian audiences, or do you even do that?
The strange thing about comedy, even here in Malaysia, we are affected by sort of like global movement because we are a country that is open. So what happens is the point of view is also reflected in Malaysia. For example, right? Previously, people love the dirtiest jokes, right?
Okay.
And they don't care. They don't care if you're the most racist, you have the dirtiest joke. The most political joke, people love it. People love hardcore kind of joke. But when the woke culture came, right, people get easily offended. It's like, oh, you shouldn't be talking about Chappelle talking about the transgender. You can't make jokes of them. And then, so when the woke culture came, all the comedians have to become more PC. And that somehow it translates as well in Malaysia, where we used to be open and accepting of jokes. Now, certain jokes we don't accept, right? But 2024 is coming back. Strangely, it's coming back.
Because Trump's president.
Trump's president. It's true. There's sort of a reflection that people are less woke, or there is an anti-woke movement where people are tired of being too PC and so forth. So now when we go when we do a show, after the show they're like, oh no, Jimmy Carr is so funny. We just had Jimmy Carr in KL, right? Jimmy Carr is so funny, but I felt that he held himself back. And we said the same comment about Kumar. I think Kumar was holding himself back. I was like, actually no, because these comics, they are just moving with the times as well. But I think now comics are encouraged to be more open because the world is changing again.
Right. Because I think, coming back to Trump a little bit, because he will be president in 2025, he's the kind of guy that is okay being the butt of the joke. He will allow comedians to roast him, and he will roast people. He has that comic in him as well. So I think with someone like that as the president of the United States, presumably the most powerful person on planet Earth, politically, and also has his hands on all those buttons that launch nuclear weapons. So if someone like that sits in the Oval Office, I think it just gives everyone this inherent permission to be funny. And I think that would translate to our scene here in Malaysia as well. What do you think about the industry as it moves into the future? Because as we remove these guardrails for comedy, will there be government controls in place, you think, or does the industry self-regulate?
I'm hoping that the Malaysian government would let go a little bit. We are always afraid to offend a certain group of people.
Right.
And this group of people can be quite powerful. And when they voice out their concerns, especially in jokes that are not PC and so forth, then, like, for example, recently we had a joke by Shahrul Chana that uses the word halal, although that has nothing to do, I think, particularly, she's just saying that she's a halal comedian. She's just making a joke about her being a halal comedian, which was aired in 2016 in Malaysian TV, Unified TV. But however, when that joke is cycled back to 2024, it's no longer acceptable. And there are certain parties in Malaysia that are not happy with that, hey, this Singaporean or non-Muslim comedian are using the word halal as a premise for her joke. I thought the joke was hilarious. And it's not particularly offensive if you really break it down. But there are some parties who are using these kind of things to forward their own agenda.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
And because of that, the government has to be a little bit more careful in who they let into Malaysia and who they want, who is able to perform in Malaysia and what kind of jokes are being expressed. To be honest, it's not just Malaysia. This is happening everywhere.
Right.
Even in Singapore, the government is a lot more careful about which comedians can perform there. Don't talk about China. China is super strict
I
about
know.
content.
About stand-up in China.
Yeah. So, in the particular strict countries, they have more stopgaps in order to filter what kind of content come into the country. Malaysia is no exception.
I mean, I believe like Shahrul Chana, she was also the one that made this joke about Malaysians and Singaporeans. When you cut us, the same thing comes out. Malaysian water. I believe that was a joke.
That's funny.
And
That's smart.
funny.
That's funny and smart.
And funny.
Yeah.
It was meant to mend ties between the two countries at a moment that another stand-up comedian had said something really offensive. That one was universally accepted as being offensive. So she made this joke and it kind of healed the rift for me. I mean, I felt like, oh, okay, that's really nice. It's a funny joke and it's meant to heal. So sometimes comedy can really, as you mentioned earlier about Kumar's material, be healing at a point in time. So when you look at her body of work and you see moments like this and you know that she never intends to offend. Why would you pick that one joke out and single her out for saying one thing in, I don't know. This is most likely taken out of context anyway.
For sure.
Yeah. I think people need to be more accepting and look at the body of work of that stand-up comedian before passing judgment, as is what happened to our own local stand-up. Not so recently, but it got this person in jail for and he's using it as material for his stand-up.
He's making him more famous than
Yes.
he went through a traumatic experience. But the best comedians turn experiences, good or bad, into the best comedy material.
So now he's gangster. He's got street cred.
He's got street cred, yeah.
So that's really awesome about comedians. Talk to us though about the money making aspect of the industry, because that's important for this podcast lah. Bagaimana untuk industri sebegini menjana pendapatan dan mampu bertahan?
It's the process of creation, being creative, and what we all creative entrepreneurs need to do is continuously build the creatives. And as mentioned before, it's a long process. Build platform, multiple platforms to find the right product. And one right product, or let's say you go through a process of 100, right? And then you find 10 products that works. And when it works, you have to double down or triple down. Yeah. And the creation of an IP or a show or a product from the creative process, you have to be able to bring that as far and wide as possible. For example, with us, we've built our artist Kumar, and then with Kumar's ability, with Kumar's jokes, we travel Kumar all over the world, essentially. And with music, maybe musicians, it's the same process actually. From a group of 100 singers, maybe 10 at most will rise up, and this 10 you have to be able to spot the talent and take this talent out. So to commercialize something, a lot of people, the government, people in the industry must understand the grassroots and the way we have to push the grassroots in order for these talents or the creative products to come up. And then there must be an avenue where we can commercialize it. Like the Korean, they build artists and they sell it worldwide. The returns on BTS. BTS brings in $4 billion a year for the company Hype, which is bigger than the entire music industry in Malaysia. So, but even in Korea, there's a lot of artists that don't make it. Yeah, and that's just the nature of the game, and it is actually the same with all creative companies.
And that's the risk factor in the industry that you're involved in. We've had our own successes. We've got Ronnie Chang, who's coming back to Malaysia now. He's waving around his Malaysian passport.
Waving around his Malaysian passport. That's hilarious.
And we've got acts that have gone global, like Dr. Jason Leong, even Rizal Kamal. I think he's toured the world as well. So we've got some big names out there. Uncle Roger, to have Gordon Ramsay talk about good old Uncle Roger is really something that all Malaysians can be proud of, because Malaysian fried rice is now on the world map, y'all. So there you go. We have our international products. It's just capitalizing and really helping the industry grow further. So I want to ask you about LOL's future plans in 2025. Where do you see comedy and entertainment from your perspective?
See, the pandemic was a very difficult time for us, and of course we have a lot of company, and those times, do you remember the word pivot was a big thing. Everyone has to pivot.
Digital world. Pivot
and
to the green screen.
For us as well, we've evolved. We survived the pandemic, and we've evolved, and we are looking forward to something totally different, but still bringing the passion and DNA of LOL Asia, and we want to transfer that into music. We've done multiple concerts. We did Hujan, four concerts with Hujan, and that was the first concert out of the pandemic. Social distance, everyone was wearing masks. First ever concert right out of the pandemic was my show with Hujan. That was fantastic. And then we did a show with Amy Search, with the band, and that was the first full capacity show. Yeah, people were still wearing masks, but no more social distancing. It was the launch of Zap KL. We did 2 nights sold out shows, and then we went to Singapore. We did Ella in Singapore, 2 nights sold out in Star Theatre, and then we did Yuna in KL. And then we decided, okay, we've worked with all these amazing local talents. Let's go for international talents. And we did with what we call the vocal goddess of Korea, Ailey. So we did Ailey in KL, nearly sold out, 98% sold in Megastar Arena. And then we did another artist, Bang Yedam. So now we're going into music. We are trying to apply the DNA of what we've done before into music. Of course, the music world is totally different. It's maybe 50 or 100 times bigger than comedy. But we're taking on the challenge. Plus, we've expanded our footprint outside of Malaysia. We've always done Malaysia and Singapore. Now we are looking to do Malaysia, Singapore, and other countries in Southeast Asia. Always level up. level up. I mean, that's the philosophy of LOL. Level up. We not just represent ourselves, our company, but I feel that we represent the Malaysians. We represent the Malaysian creative industry. We represent Malaysian promoters, and we want to go as far as possible in order for us to build not just Malaysian names, but not just Malaysian talents, but talents from all over Asia primarily. We want to bring them all over Asia, hence the name LOL Asia.
So when we come back, we'll touch on that 15th anniversary special that they've got in the mix. And we'll also talk a little bit about incentives that an industry like this need from the government to move forward. Jadi jangan ke mana-mana, terus setia bersama kami dalam We Hear You. Kita akan kembali sebentar lagi. Kembali bersama kami dalam We Hear You, dan sepanjang perbincangan ini ia adalah satu perbincangan yang lain daripada yang lain, industri yang lain daripada yang lain. Setakat perbincangan-perbincangan dan juga tetamu-tetamu yang kita bawakan juga, kita dapat lihat bahawa industri ini adalah luar daripada skop perniagaan konvensional. Dan untuk itu, dalam segmen terakhir ini kita akan bincangkan tentang sambutan ulang tahun ke-15 LOL Asia. Rizal, pejam celik dengan koma diri, koma duduk, koma berjalan ya. Campur aduk dengan industri muzik dan juga membawa koma diri merentasi pelbagai negara. 15 tahun sudah mencapai satu legasi yang cukup bermakna untuk LOL Asia. Jadi apakah perancangan untuk sambutan ulang tahun ke-15 ini?
Betul lah. Pejam celik, dah tua. Tapi 15 tahun kita dalam industri ni, Alhamdulillah, kehidupan yang amat menarik. Dan orang kata saya nampak muda, maknanya bila gelak banyak, kita boleh jadi muda.
Laughter is the best medicine.
Betul, laughter the best medicine. So 15 years in the industry, I've gone through a lot of ups and downs. So this anniversary is our not just a celebration of what we've done, is also to stamp our mark, saying that, hey, we've done 15 years of this and we are ready to really move forward and grow and really take a big step forward. And it's time. It's time. So we are doing a 15-year anniversary show.
All right.
This 13th and 14th of December at ZEP KL. And we have all our favorite artists in there. Of course, my favorite artist, the artist that I've built, Kumar. Kumar will be the headline, and Kumar will do a lot of interesting stuff in the show. And we have all the rest are local talents, because I believe in the power of local artists. So we have Joanne Kam, Douglas Lim, Prakash Daniel, Brian Tan. We have the Mass Millennium Dancers, a whole group of dancers, all local. We use them in multiple shows. There's a group of 10 to 15 of them. And also we have two amazing music talents, which is Sen Kylo and Claudia Tan, or now known as Claudia. She's been on the radio quite often, both of them actually. So this show is a celebration and also a showcase of the future. As I mentioned earlier, that we will not just bring the talents on stage, we will integrate the show with AI. Okay. So if anyone wants to see how we integrate music, comedy, and AI, you have to come to this show. It's going to be amazing.
Nice. Every time someone talks about AI in the performing arts industry, there's a lot of things that people are wondering, how is it going to fit? I guess this is a benchmark that you're going to be setting. So let's find out on the 13th and 14th of December. So finally, I want to ask you about what you hope to get from the market. I mean, the market in terms of financing, because you're going to grow. You've got international aspirations. First of all, what can the government do for you?
Ni minta.
Sembang.
Minta.
I know the budget is stable and all, but what can they do for you?
what can they do for us, right? Okay, for one thing, I have to be thankful when, as a Live, I lobbied for stable taxes in the industry, and we got that. We got 0% for local artists, entertainment tax 0% in Wilayah and Selangor, KL and Selangor, and 10% for international artists, all the way to 2028. So that stabilized the industry. Then that's fantastic. With funding, Visit Malaysia year is coming 2026, and funds will come up for people who wants to create fantastic events. And I hope the funds flow out properly to the right people so that we can have the best events that can pull Malaysians, people from outside Malaysia into Malaysia. And for me, of course, being an event producer, I've lined up a list of events that I want to do for Visit Malaysia 2026. So in terms of what I want for the government is, number one is give a little leeway, give a little bit more trust to the producers to be able to bring the best international artists to Malaysia and not be so strict, right? Because there are certain, although the government is a lot more relaxed compared to a few years back, we still have certain artists that I think they can perform in Malaysia, but then suddenly they're not allowed to perform in Malaysia. There's still a little bit of that. In terms of funding, I hope the bodies, the agencies work in tandem with each other, because the creative industry should be seen as a whole. And the goal is to be able to build the creative industry to contribute at least 8% of the GDP. And I think that's a great target. The creative industry to contribute 8% of the overall Malaysian GDP. I think we are somewhere around maybe 4 to 6%, and to be able to grow it to 8 to 10%, have the patience and tenacity to invest in the creative economy, because the output for the creative industry is not just economic. There's a lot of output, social output. People are happier. The city is more vibrant. The tourist feels that, hey, in KL or in all the cities, there's a lot of things happening. We want people to de-stress. We want people to be able to find certain, especially cities, a lot more livable. Cities are where all the performance arts and concerts are. We want the city to be highly livable, and to do that is to have a lot of shows and have the arts scene, the creative scene to be alive. So all of these things makes Malaysia very exciting, makes Malaysia like the destination to be at. And if the government allows that, or is not afraid of offending certain groups that is always against the industry, then we are able to grow and have something special in Malaysia.
So two things about that. The first thing would be when we saw Singapore lock out the entire Southeast Asia with Taylor Swift, I think we learned a very good lesson that events really can add significantly to our GDP. I mean, we're talking Taylor Swift. So if something like that is done, I'm sure if the government were to sit down and talk to organizers like yourself, we can pull something like that off, and that would be great. But I do see the point of the government being a little bit fearful, because we have that ban really cost the organizers a lot, and really did them
did a number on us.
Did a number on the organizers. So that event, I don't know if we will ever recover, but I hope the organizers got their dues from the ban, because as the American election show, going back to that again, nobody cares of the politics of the showbiz Hollywood elites. I mean, Kamala Harris had all these superstars performing with her and endorsing her, and she still lost. So no one cares about your politics. Come, perform, entertain people, and then you can leave. There's no need for you to drop your political bombs and gaslight people and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's where I would say the government's kill switch is still something that we might need in case of another 1948 maybe. I don't know. Is there a band out there 1948? Yeah. But other than that, I think this government is very receptive to the idea of doing live performances as a tourist initiative to bring more people to Malaysia, and we do need that. So, are you able to let some of the cats out of your bag and tell us which are the names that you're planning to bring in the coming years? So we can plan.
Unfortunately not. Because the way the industry work, or the way a company in our industry work for concerts and comedy shows, live shows, we have to bid for the artists. Yeah. So until if we tell people, hey, we're bringing A, B, and C without closing the deal, our competitors like, oh my God, they're fighting for the same artist as us. Then it works counter to us. Nice. But let's just say that a lot of the American comedians are ready to tour Asia.
Right.
So we have a little bit too many of them coming wanting to come to Southeast Asia next year. So it's going to be a big year for stand-up comedy. And I think with some of the local artists as well, we want to bring them out. We want Malaysian artists to do more shows in Singapore as well, and other countries around the region. So what we are working on is not just bringing out in, we want to bring in out, which means and export our talents. And that's another thing that if the government can help companies like us who has the passion and desire to export our local talent as an export of culture, help us do that in order for us to be able to share how good Malaysians are.
Absolutely. I mean, we have those signature Malaysians as we talked about, and I think Dr. Jason Leong is still bidding to play Jolo in a movie. MTV Scandal. So,
not gonna happen. He's still out there, Jolo. Nobody really wants to do in his old news. Jolo is old news, so let's not talk about him ever again.
It's time to lose weight and change, because he's doing his MMA thing. So we never know. Might see Dr. Jason Leong in the squared circle sometime soon. It's also important that you get funding as you grow and try to have these international aspirations. So talk to the financing institutions out there. How can they help you? Because your business model is so unique in terms of assets and all that. I think you're very different from any other kind of business. So collateral and things of this sort is also going to be a different model altogether for an industry like yours.
Yes.
So talk to the potential financiers out there. How can they assist you grow?
So there's two financing for me in the company. Number one is I'm always thankful for the support that was given to me by My Creative. And because they give me, as mentioned, the rolling credit and enables us to grow. And then they are continuously supporting us and the company. But there is also the private funding side. I'm happy to say that we've been courted by a few companies that want to invest in us and in the business. But they need to understand that in the creative industry, creativity is fluid. Sometimes you come up with the right product and it blows up like crazy, or sometimes you just have to continually grudge on until you find that product that blows up. You can see there's a million cases out there where creators are able to create an IP, and that IP brings back millions to them. For J.K. Rowling with Harry Potter, still playing off till today. George Lucas with Star Wars. All these different IPs are created from one single person. Yeah. And for us, we've created several IPs with Kumar, and then we want to continue that process of being able to be free and be able to create. So for all the finances, when you look at us, you have to look. You can't see that. No, we want to make money, make money, make money, make money. It's going to be make money. We lose a little bit. We make, we lose, and then suddenly that one thing will blow up. Boom, and then we 50 times, 50x the revenue, and so to invest in the creative company, the mindset must be different. There must be a social responsibility type of mindset as well. Because if you love, people say, "Oh my God, I love concerts. I want to do concerts." Yeah, you know, people love that. "Oh my God, I love to go to comedy shows, so I want to invest in comedy shows." But they only see the success.
Right.
Yeah, they don't see the process. And trying to get investors to understand the process is just a little bit of a education. Yeah, but we're getting there because I see investors loving us right now, and they're ready to put in money. So let's hope for the best.
All the best to you on that front. For those of our audience who are watching this and getting inspired by your story, they want to be just like you. They want to bring in the big names. They want to start a company. They want to create their own IPs. What's your advice to all the young startups out there in the entertainment circuit?
Don't look the entertainment, the creative industry all comes from passion, and without that you can't persevere. And you know, you cannot lose that passion. You have to be resilient. A lot of times creators give up because they are not able to get to a point where they are able to be commercialized. But you should just continuously do and seek help. Find people who love the same passion as you, because they will help you. Yeah, because it's an industry built on passion, and you have to believe. You have to believe that you will eventually one day find that one thing that is going to rise you up. And for us as well, we tried so many things over the past 15 years. Win, lose, build. But you know, our main thing is we never give up. Our reputation is solid. It's very important, reputation-wise. Whether you do a show that is successful or a show that fails, you keep everything intact so that your reputation is intact. And because of that, you build on your reputation, and people want to work with you. It's like, oh my God, this is a good company. Rizal's a good guy. You know, let's help them. Let's do business with them. And from there, it builds. It continuously builds. So for us right now, we are at a point where we have a very strong reputation. People Google us online. They Google my face, my name online, and they see the good stuff. Even if you put in ChatGPT, who is Rizal Kamal? Is he a good or bad guy? ChatGPT will tell you a lot of good stuff. You try that. So we built our reputation.
He doesn't have any street cred yet.
We got the street cred, you know, 15 years of experience and doing good stuff.
Yeah.
And we are using that. We are using that to 10x our growth.
We're looking forward to hearing great things from you, and we're looking forward to your 15th anniversary celebration, 13 and 14
Thank you,
December.
Terence.
Once again, lock your dates, Zep KL, and go check them out. Thank you for joining us for a very special episode, I believe. Ini lain daripada yang lain, daripada apa yang kita bincangkan selama ni, daripada satu industri yang juga di luar kotak. Dan sememangnya menghasilkan pelbagai genre hiburan yang berbeza, dari komedi kepada konsert-konsert. Ia merupakan industri yang mungkin ingin anda ceburi. Jadi harapan kami semoga perbincangan ini dapat menginspirasi kepada anda pejuang-pejuang seni di luar sana. Terima kasih sekali lagi kepada Rizal kerana sudi bersama kami dalam
Terima
WHU.
kasih, Terence.
Dan kita berjumpa lagi dalam episod akan datang. Jangan lupa untuk ikuti segala perbincangan kami di semua platform media sosial. Dan juga pastikan anda ikuti kami di Spotify dan juga Apple. Jangan ke mana-mana. Terus setia bersama kami. Pelbagai lagi perbincangan menarik akan kita bawakan dalam episod-episod menyusul. We Hear You.